Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the 2018-19 season 4 of the WCS League GP series. Today we have a very interesting round in our hands, and I say very interesting because we don't have either of the two championship leaders. Neither Wopke Hoekstra nor Lorenzo De Tutis in the CM Tech cars are here today. They're both busy and both away, meaning the championship is wide open. Let's have a look at some of the people who could capitalise on this and could take some good results in the standings after this round. We're in qualifying, by the way, so that's what you're seeing on your screen at the minute. We're watching Roy Vazil going round on his first flying lap. So far, only 3 people have set laps, and it's Craig Patterson at the top of the times. Patterson, of course, didn't actually make it to the last round, so we're interested to see, or it will be interesting to see how he does in this race and how much pace Craig Patterson has in this car. Another driver who could really take advantage of none of the CM Tech guys being here is Roy Schroten, except I don't see him on the server either, so it might well be that the top 3 drivers in this championship are not here, because I do not see Roy Schroten. He's 3rd in the championship. 4th place is actually a tie, a 3-way tie on points with 24 points each between Menno Klont, Peter Jones and Roy Vazil. It might well be, whoa, there's a little bit of an incident there at turn 1. It might well be that Klont, Jones and Vazil are the championship contenders after this round, the main rivals. That is, unless we see Roy Schroten, Lorenzo De Tutis or Wopke Hoekstra making it in time. And who's to say that we won't see other drivers getting involved in this as well? We've got 7th in the championship, Gerrit de Vries, followed by 8th, Danny van der Neert. He's actually one to look out for, seeing as he didn't start race 2 last time out. So van der Neert, we know, has more pace than points. Marcel Barr is 9th in the championship, and Laurent Keersmakers is in 10th. But we know from Keersmakers that he is a much faster driver than that result suggests as well. And Keersmakers, meanwhile, is at the top of our timing sheet. Who are we watching here? This is a driver preparing to start their lap. Hold on, I need to just sort out my settings quick. I should have... Craig Patterson actually getting in the way slightly of someone's lap there. But let's go on board with Craig, actually, as he's about to show us a lap of this Red Bull Ring circuit here in Austria. So Patterson lays down the power as he goes into the final couple of corners. He needs to get a good run out of this final corner. You can really drop through the dip there and get a good slingshot effect, although that's not a good slingshot effect at all, as he's been over the grass on the outside. That's going to cost him some dear momentum as he runs up the hill towards turn 1, which is a very fast right-hander. That wasn't good. No, he messed that up. Got it a bit crossed up on entry, bounced over the curb and over the outside. And to be honest, he'd be wise to back out of this lap, seeing as he's already messed it up, and it's not going to, or it shouldn't count anyway, as he's been over the runoff area. Anyway, up the hill, that was Reich, the corner at the top, turn 2. It's a tight right-hand hairpin, which you need to take an interesting line into, because the inside actually has a very nasty bump in it. There's Slosh Gold being the right-hander. Actually, a double right-hander, classed as 2 separate corners before you head downhill with Remus. It's a track with a lot of elevation change, this one, and through all of this sector you're heading downhill until you head up this little crest here, and then towards the fast right-hand corner of Rindt. And then the final corner. Only 10 official corners on this circuit, or 11 if you believe the Formula 1 circuit map, which I for one don't. But anyway, there is a lap from Craig Patterson. Looking at the timesheet, it's currently Laurent Keersmakers at the top of the order from Danny van der Neert, then Craig Patterson in 4th place, followed by Niels Vos, Gerrit de Vries, Menno Klont, Ring Hoekstra, Kevin Peters and Dan Hurt, and the rest of them, as up to 6th now goes Stefan Ruhl. So Stefan Ruhl, who is our reigning champion in fact, but didn't make it to round 1, has now set the 6th fastest time in his first timed lap in this new WCS League GP car. Last season, of course, we were using a very different version of single-seater for this series. We were using an A1 GP car, slightly modified. This year, of course, we're racing an Indy Lights car. You'll notice these, or you'll recognise these if you've been following American racing and their Road to Indy, where this is effectively the Formula 2 of IndyCar racing. Craig Patterson there, setting a second sector, which isn't his personal best. However, his first sector was. So it's all about what he can put together in this final sector here, as he goes onto the start-finish straight. Crosses the line. Is it an improvement? No, it isn't from Craig Patterson. Oh, yes, it is. Only just, though. Took a little while to update, but Craig Patterson only just improves. What about Stefan Ruhl? This is a good lap from Ruhl, and we know that he's got pace. Is it the top? It's actually only 5th, so Ruhl goes to 5th. I wonder how much practice time Ruhl's had, actually, because we'd expect him to be a lot higher up the order if he'd had a decent amount of practice time. So I don't expect that he has. Whoa, as we see Dan Hurt having a big off there. Now this, I believe, is this is Gerrit de Vries we're watching here. De Vries in the first sector. Oh, as Peter Jones there puts in a lap which puts him 4th place. Peter Jones going up to 4th there behind one of his main championship rivals, Roy Vazil. Again, keep an eye out for Jones, Vazil and Clont, because they are the drivers who are equal in points in the championship. Currently in 3rd in the standings, however that could well be 1st after this round, seeing as neither De Chutis, Hoekstra or Schroten are actually here. By Hoekstra, I'm talking about Wopke Hoekstra rather than Rienk Hoekstra, because as you can see, Rienk, who is actually Wopke's dad, is here today. But we do not have a Wopke Hoekstra, our championship leader, which is a big shame. Through the final corner goes Gerrit de Vries. Slightly messy corner there, and as he goes across the start-finish line, what's the lap from Gerrit? It's just going to update, and it's actually not an improvement, as Menno Clont there moves up into 9th place. Now who's this we're watching? That's Rienk Hoekstra. So this here is Casper Onwin, who put in his personal best first sector on this lap. Second sector not great. After this, I'll switch to Laurent Keersmakers at the top of the order, as Keersmakers appears to be improving his lap again. But what can Onwin do here? He's in 14th place at the minute, and he stays 14th, so no improvement from Casper Onwin there. What about the top of our times? Laurent Keersmakers in the number 42. Through the final corner he goes. You see the tyres kicking up all sorts of smoke there. And as he crosses the start-finish line, it is an improvement. Laurent Keersmakers goes even faster than he was before, with a 1:19.178. A fantastic lap from Laurent Keersmakers, and he's going out again for even more. Here's Niels Vos now. Niels Vos in 7th place. Just been demoted actually by Marcel Barr. So Barr just went through to 7th place. But Niels Vos eager to switch back. Runs slightly wide over the curb there. And now as Vos crosses the line. Actually, he doesn't cross the line. He exits to the pits before he does, because he knows that his lap is ruined. So he doesn't bother setting it. That's the lot there for Niels Vos for that lap. Stefan Ruhl. Oh, big lock up there. That's into the gravel. Actually, I don't believe that is Stefan Ruhl. That was Marcel Barr. This is Stefan Ruhl crossing the start-finish line. And he does improve his lap, but stays 6th. This is slightly disappointing so far from Stefan Ruhl. Now this will be Roland Hutt here, I believe. You can tell the two Hutts by their light blue livery. You've got Roland Hutt and his son Dan Hutt in this race, and Roland slightly improves his lap but stays 16th of the 18 drivers that we have here. Interestingly, we do have one of the CM Tech drivers, but not one of the planned CM Tech drivers. Enno Tubin has been put in the CM Tech car to race for this round, although completely against the team owner's knowledge. Basically, in this series, everyone gets to race, even if they're not signed. And if you don't already have a team going into a round, you will be assigned a team, and that will be a driver, or a team with a missing driver rather, and you get to race their car, which I think is utterly fantastic. It just gives everyone a fair chance to race, and it means you don't have so many empty slots on the grid, which is just brilliant. Stefan Roll, meanwhile, just moved up into 4th position there. 4th place. Let's watch. Whoa, a big, very hairy moment there for Danny van der Neert in the final sector. This isn't going to be a brilliant lap. Where does it put him? Yeah, he stays 2nd, so messed it all up in the final sector there. I want to take a look at Menno Klont briefly. Apologies that I have to keep putting on the overlay every time I want to find out which driver's which. I'm afraid I'm only using one monitor. You see the, again, clouds of smoke flying off the tyres, as Dan Hutt there moves up into 10th place. Klont, I think, is improving his lap so far. He's currently in 12th position and a long way behind his championship rivals Vasil and Jones. Across the line goes Menno Klont, and he does improve his lap, but he stays 12th. So Klont not yet putting in the lap that he wants, and he's not going to get time, in fact, because qualifying only has half a minute to go until the timer runs out. This is Kevin Peters coming out the final corner. He's currently in 11th position, and as he crosses the line, Kevin goes to well, actually, that's not an improvement there for Kevin Peters. Let's stay with him for this lap, though, because he might well be challenging for a quicker lap. He's going to get one more opportunity as the qualifying timer is ticking to 0. It is now at 0, and that means that the checkered flag is out. Only drivers currently on a flying lap can still set a time, and I can tell you that so far absolutely no one is on a quicker lap. Some drivers are still pushing, but no one appears to be actually going any faster, which means this might well be the order confirmed. Big slide for Kevin Peters. That's not going to help his attack at a better time. I want to go forward to Roy Vasil. Vasil still challenging. Oh, he's in the grass, in the gravel. So that's not going to be an improvement for Roy Vasil. I'm afraid that's a rather stuffed lap there. What about Stefan Roll? Stefan Roll, 4th place, our reigning champion in this series. Can't do a full series campaign due to GPVWC commitments, but he's decided to turn up for this round. And I don't know how many other rounds he'll be doing in this championship. Sets a good 2nd sector there. This could be on for a top time here for Stefan Roll. This is the last chance anyone has of taking the top spot away from Laurent Keersmakers. What does Stefan Roll do as he crosses the line? We're about to see the lap, and he improves. He goes to 3rd. An improvement from Roll. He goes to 3rd, but that, I'm afraid, is the end of this session. Only Dan Hutt can still put it. Oh, he's in the pits, so that is it. That is the end of this session. And every driver now has their grid position confirmed. So, from front to the back, it's going to be Laurent Keersmakers. Oh, as the session changes over. So it's going to be going to be Laurent Keersmakers on pole, followed by Danny van der Neer, then Stefan Rol, Roy Verzil, Peter Jones, Craig Patterson, Geert de Vries, Marcel Baer, Niels Vos, Dan Hutt, Kevin Peters, Menno Klont, Rian Kogstra, Mark Fuller, Casper Oinwin, Roland Hutt, Eric Stanford and Enno Tubin. And Wesley Stefano, who's only just joined us in fact. So a very disappointing qualifying session for the CM Tech guys. Remember that CM Tech is leading the Constructors' Championship. They only have one driver here today in Enno Tubin, and Tubin is starting from P18. This is not looking good for the Constructors' Championship leaders. Let's have a look, in fact, at the Constructors' Championship as it stands, as we ride on board with Mark Fuller on track. So, in terms of the Constructors' standings, as I just get them up onto my screen now, it's CM Tech leading from Racing Team Schroten, but again Team Schroten only has one driver here, just as CM Tech do, so both of the top teams in a bit of trouble here. Third place is Performance Racing. They are on target to take the lead of the championship, providing that everything goes okay for them today. Fourth in the Constructors' Championship is Holland Racing Team of Wesley Stefano and Geert de Vries, and fifth is Slyfox. So that is the top 5 out of the 9 teams who have put drivers on the grid for these races so far. Remember, you do actually get a point for pole position in this series, which means that that Laurent Keersmakers just claimed an extra point there, and that could mean a difference in terms of the Drivers' Championship. You also get a point for fastest lap, so it's definitely worth pushing in the race. And it's an interesting way of doing things. It really encourages drivers to push, and it encourages drivers to keep going, even if they may be a long way down. Because if they can pit, repair the damage after an incident, and then go out again and set the fastest lap, they still end up scoring a point for it wherever they finish. Good day to everyone watching in the YouTube chat. I asked who everyone is rooting for today. Edmonds in Dulens replies with Craig, my boy. That'll be Craig Patterson he's talking about, I presume. Can everyone just let Craig through? I'm afraid racing doesn't quite work like that, but anyway. Kevin Peters says he was improving his time by 0.3 seconds after the first corner and then bottled the lap. Well, that's unfortunate there, and sorry to hear it, but anyway. We now have a short warm-up session before the start of the first of 2 races here. We do have 2 races here today. The first one longer than the second, but the second is going to have a partially reversed grid, so don't go anywhere after the first race. Make sure you stick around for that. It'll be exciting, as it always is. Here's a reminder that our top 3 drivers in this championship are not here today, which means that we have a real fight on for the top championship positions, both in the driver standings and in the team standings. And it's a very big shame when you see drivers losing out due to not being able to make races. And it's definitely a shame when you get around where several of the championship contenders can't make it at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break now, and I will be back in 5 minutes for the start of race 1. Hello everyone, I'm back. I've had some water, I've had a Kit Kat, other chocolate brands are available, and I'm ready for the start of race 1 here at the WCS League GP Series, round 2 from the Red Bull Ring. This is season 4 of the championship. This season we have a very interesting and very quick Indy Lights car. Of course, my brother races one of these, and I was asking him about it. He says that the car feels really, really good. He says it's a lot more fun to drive than last year's car, and I think everyone else that I've spoken to agrees with him. Yeah, it's great to see the car on track. The warm-up session has now been shown the checkered flag. We only have one driver on track, Wesley Stefano, who appears to be exiting to pits now, which means we can get this round underway very, very shortly, I'm sure. I've just noticed we've had a couple of additions to the order. Well, one, we've had Theodoros Ezeroglu, who has joined in. Now, which car is he in? He is in... Is that the... Well, it's actually an unliveried car. Oh, it's the open seat. So he's not racing the second CM Tech car like I thought he might be. And that's a bit of a shame, because CM Tech, I'm afraid, do not have it. Well, they only have one driver here today, after all. And for the Constructors' Championship leaders, that's a big shame, I'm afraid. So we're just preparing for the start of race 1 here. If you're watching, I'll be checking the comments at regular intervals during this race, and I will try to reply. Well, try to read out any interesting ones, any funny ones. Just let us know you're watching, and let us know if you're enjoying it as well. I hope you are. It's going to be an exciting couple of races, so I'm very much looking forward to this, and I hope you are as well. We've got 2 races coming up here today, which are very big in terms of the championship, and could well be very exciting on track as well. The Red Bull Ring does tend to throw up some very interesting racing. Sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted there. Edmonds Ingelans says Craig has the best car, lol. I should point out that every car in this series is exactly the same except for the setup, meaning that every driver has an equal chance, and if there are any differences in the cars, it's because of the drivers themselves tinkering with the setup. You can change basically anything you like with this car. You can change the suspension stiffness, and you can change the tyre pressures, the camber, the toe, the aerodynamics, all of those things, and more as well. And different drivers, of course, have different preferences, so what might be the fastest setup for someone might not be for someone else. And after all, that means that really there's no best car on the grid. There's a best car and driver combination, of course, every time, but that's never down to just the car. It's down to the car and the driver, as it is in all racing series, I should point out, but not to the same extent. Now, I know that Edmonds there was joking, or at least I hope you were, but yeah, just clearing that up anyway. Interestingly, Craig there, I assume that's Craig Patterson, replies with Edmonds shush. Nice to see such a lively chat today, and hopefully this will continue long through the races. Again, we have 2 races today. The first one we're going to be starting in the order that the drivers just qualified in, and then the second race will be started with a reversed grid. The top 10 drivers in the order from the end of race 1 will be reversed, meaning the driver who finishes 10th in this race will start first for the second race. and the driver who finishes first in this race will start 10th for the second, which really shakes up the order. I still see the marshal waving the checkered flag there. That's a bit useless, seeing as there is actually no car on track and he's waving it to an empty track. But anyway, we're just preparing now for the start of this race, the start of race 1 out of 2 here today at the WCS League GP Series, Season 4, Round 2. The drivers have 1 minute to get their cars set up and onto the track before this race can begin. We'll then do a warm-up lap. They will stop on the grid, wait for the red lights to come on, and then go out, and that will be the start of this race. Let's go through the order again. So, if I just get my order up. So, it's going to be Laurent Kiersmakers starting first in this race. He's going to be followed at the start by Danny van der Neert. Then it's going to be Stefan Rohr in third place, followed by Roy Vizil, Peter Jones, Craig Patterson. Now, did Stefan Rohr make it out to the pits? Oh, just in time. Good, very good. Anyway, back to the order. There's Peter Jones. He is going to be followed by Craig Patterson, Gerrit de Vries, and then Marcel Barr, Niels Vos, Dan Hutt, Kevin Peters, Menno Klont, Rian Hoekstra, Mark Fuller, Casper Oinwin, and then Roland Hutt, Eric Stanford, Enno Tubin in the CM Tech car, Wesley Stefano, and Theodoros Ezeroglu, who missed qualifying altogether and therefore will start at the back of the field. So 20 drivers in the order here on the formation lap, preparing for the start of this race. Look at how the track undulates. Look at how it follows the topography of the terrain. It dips and climbs like a roller coaster. As Murray Walker would put it, it has a lot of inclines, not just up but down as well. And that makes it a real challenge for the drivers as the car tries to unsettle over every crest, and the car tries to bottom out through every dip. And the drivers need to adjust the setup to make sure that that doesn't happen. Well, they've had their chance. Now what they've got is what they're racing with, and all they have to do is stop on the starting grid and wait for the lights to go out. Here's Laurent Kiersmakers. He's going to start in grid box number 1. He earned that with a blisteringly fast qualifying lap, I should say. And that means that he will start first place. There he goes, stops in his box. Now let's go to the back of the order. Theodoros Ezeroglu, he will be the last driver to line up on this grid. And after him, we will be ready to get this race underway. Theodoros lines up in his grid box. It's just a couple of boxes forwards. Right, now he's stopped. We can wait for the red lights. You see those 5 red lights on the gantry there. When they light up, the revs will rise. And when they go out, the race will begin. And we will start 30 laps of WCS League GP action. Here come the lights. Go! Away we go! And it's a good start there for Laurent Kiersmakers. A very bad start for Danny van der Neert. And through into second might come Laurent Kiersmakers, or Stefan Rohr rather, but he's going to have to go around the outside. I believe everyone's going to make it through cleanly. Actually, someone stopped on the outside there as Enno Tubin gets a back corner. Who's that? That's Rian Hoekstra there, who got a bad turn 1. Up the hill we go, and round the second corner, and that there is Laurent Kiersmakers leading from Danny van der Neert and Stefan Rohr. I heard a couple of crunch sound effects. Here's Roy Vizil coming under attack for Peter Jones. This could well be the battle for the lead of the championship. As Peter very nearly gets under his gearbox there. I was wondering whether they've made contact. It was very, very close as we go now into Remus. And Peter has to back off for now. More crunch sound effects. I'm going to go down the order to see if I can figure out what's going on. Is every driver still... Oh! Collision behind! And is that... that's Rian Hoekstra off again with Casper Onwin, I'm afraid. Eric Stanford and Enno Tubin, I'm afraid, are also involved. Let me just sort something out so I can have a look at exactly what happened here. If I go back, it looks as if... oh, Casper's already damaged. In fact, right, here we go. So Tubin here is going to get involved. Oh, he's going to get run into, actually. Run into from behind by Kevin Peters. Peters ran into him from behind, spinning Tubin out. And also going off with him was Eric Stanford. And then Casper Onwin had already lost his front wing. Now, did that happen at the top of the hill? Yes, it did. There was a bit of a pile up here, actually, involving... Is that Kevin Peters? Yes, it is. Right, back to real time. What's been happening? More incidents. That's Enno Tubin, who's missed the pits. No, he didn't actually lose his front wing. Rian Hoekstra, Casper Onwin, they're all in. And at the front of the order, it's Keersmakers leading from Royal. Now, Royal into second, ahead of Van der Neert, and then Brazil and Jones. Now, where did Royal get ahead of Van der Neert? I'm going back to have a little look at that. I think it was up into Reich. No, it was before that. It was actually on the exit turn 1. Ah, Van der Neert made a mistake, made a big kick of oversteer, and ended up... Oh wow! Look at this from Royal. Royal had to get 2 wheels on the grass here in avoidance as Peters, or not Peters, Van der Neert suddenly slowed and through into second went Stefan Royal. Let's see what Van der Neert would have seen of that. You can see him making the mistake. Yeah, just too fast in. Went over the curb, the sausage curb on the outside, and then had to give way to Stefan Royal. So that's the order after 2 laps of racing now. Watch how close Roy Vazil is to the back of Danny Van der Neert now. Will he have an attack? He looks close as we head towards Slosgold, but not quite close enough there. Through the right-hander, through the double right-hander, and now as we go towards Remus, still he holds the position. 10% of this race is done already, and I think we may have just lost our first driver. Well, Rian Hoekstra's back into the pits. That may be a drive-through for speeding in the pits. In fact, he's missed his box, so that's I think possibly a stop-go where he's had to go back for his box again. Just checking if all cars are running cleanly. Big lock-up from someone. That was Roy Vazil, in fact, who's dropped a bit off, a little way off the back of Danny Van der Neert at the start here. As Rian Hoekstra exits the pit lane into the pack, he's going to have to give way to Peter Jones behind him. In fact, Jones might come under attack from Craig Patterson here for his 5th place. Patterson showing well on his debut so far in 6th place. He's already raced in the GP series, of course. We've seen he's a fantastic attacker there. I remember having to hold him off for laps at Hockenheim in the GP series myself, and I tell you what, it was a really tough challenge. He's very good in defence, in offence rather. Oh, Rian Hoekstra's going off in the background there actually. And I think he may be parked for good. He's parked it on the outside. Side by side there goes Dan Hurt and Menno Klont. Klont on the inside. Klont keeps that. Does Dan get him back on the exit? He might actually. He's going to the... No, he's too far back there. Now, is Rian Hoekstra parked for good? I saw him on the outside. Yeah, I'm afraid Hoekstra in the pit. He's given up already. That's his race run. Along the start-finish straight go the first couple of guys. I think the lead gap's closed in a bit. And let me just wait until it updates. It has, in fact. It's now less than a second. So less than a second now separates Keersmakers and Royal. This is like a scene from last season, in fact, as Royal was always the top driver, but Keersmakers gave him a run for his money sometimes. I think the best race of last season was one of the races we had at the Nürburgring, where Keersmakers pulled off a fantastic move in the arena section, passing Stefan Roll. If you haven't seen that, I definitely suggest going back to look at it. It was one of the best overtakes I've ever seen in sim racing. Certainly the bravest. Normally brave moves in sim racing result in an accident, but luckily that one didn't. And Keersmakers, of course, is a great driver, very clean, so he definitely has the ability to avoid things like that. Edmund Ingelens typed, "This is going to be good." I think he typed that before the race started, but I tell you what, it applies more than ever now as we see this battle for the lead heating up. And I tell you what, this is going to be good. Stefan Roll still catching Laurent Keersmakers. The gap is less than half a second. As we go up the hill now, Roll will be getting a good old slipstream from the back of Laurent Keersmakers' car. Now as we head down the second long straight, this would be a DRS straight if we had DRS, but we don't. Now into the Schlossgold. Still Roll approaching. Oh, and there's a mistake. Keersmakers made a mistake, and through goes Stefan Roll. Roll leads this race. Keersmakers, I didn't see exactly what happened, but he was wide on the exit there. Let's go back and have a look at what happened to Laurent Keersmakers. It looks as if he had a twitch. He had a twitch mid-corner. There we go. Had to correct it. Had to slow the car right down, and through into the lead of this race went Stefan Roll. Watch this. He's just going to go slightly too wide. He has a twitch. His front right tyre locks up, and through goes Stefan Roll, who leads this race now, the reigning champion. Here's what he saw of all of that. Wide goes Keersmakers. That was his opportunity, and that was the only opportunity he needs. Stefan Roll snaps up the lead of this race, and as I go back to real time, that is done and dusted, and Keersmakers now is back in the slipstream, but too far back. Can Keersmakers reclaim the lead of this race? He was the quickest driver in qualifying, but he's already made a mistake. What about down into the Schlossgold? I think he's still too far back, but this is where Keersmakers made the mistake last lap, and where Roll went through. No such error for either of them this time around. Meanwhile, what's happened to Craig Patson? He's dropped to 16th. That's quite dramatic. Craig Patson was running in P6, but I'm afraid he's now down in 16th position. Here he is, in fact, fighting his way past. Who is that? That'll be Theodoros Ezeroglu there, who he's attacking. Does he poke to the inside here? I think he does. Oh, no room there. That was close. And they're side by side on the exit of the corner, and through goes Craig Patson up into 15th place. Now, when did he drop off the tail of Peter Jones? Just going back in the order to, well, back in time to see exactly when that happened. It was quite early, actually. Oh no, I'm looking at Theodoros Ezeroglu. What am I talking about? Yeah, Craig Patson here. He had a spin. Right, Patson obviously has had an incident coming out of the final corner a couple of laps ago. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong button, aren't I? Whoops. What am I doing? Yeah, look, did it all on his own. Just got on the curb, swapped ends, couldn't save it, round it went. And Craig, I'm afraid, has now dropped right down the order. He's just got past Theodoros Ezeroglu, of course. We saw him getting past him. But yeah, that's very disappointing. Already, Stefan Roll has pulled the gap out to over a second ahead of Laurent Keersmakers. This is a very Roll-like performance. He wasn't that quick in qualifying, probably didn't get much time to test the car, but now he's absolutely on it in the race. Along the start-finish straight go the top three. What's the gap this time? It's yeah, it's 1.2 seconds, so still right out there. And the next closest battle is Keersmakers versus Van der Neert for second position. They're separated by about 8/10, so not really that much in it. Still sort of a three-way battle for the lead here, though. I think the main position likely to change there is second place, but still, one mistake from Rowe, and he's going to drop back through the pack. He's not far enough ahead of them yet to get away with it. So Stefan Rowe leading this race so far, as slightly wide there from Van der Neert, at least missed the apex. Not really that wide though. Now through the final sector, Rint Curve and the final corner, and we'll see the gap update as they go across the line this time. So it's oh, slight mistake on the exit there. Van der Neert ran slightly wide and over the curb, but keeps more or less out of trouble. Let's have a look at some of the other close scraps throughout the order here. Here's Niels Vos being followed by two cars here. These are still Klont and Hurt. Klont and Hurt have been fighting for a little while actually, and Hurt might well attack here. He's very close. Now does he go for it? Yeah, he's going to the outside of Klont. Klont locks up and almost does a Rosberg at the top of the hill. Goes wide and through goes Dan Hurt. Hurt claims the position. Dan Hurt is one of those drivers who has a lot of pace at times, but other times causes a lot of unnecessary incidents. He's got more penalties than I think any other driver on this grid in the WCS League. Very reminiscent of Romain Grosjean in his early days. I tell you what, it's all just inexperience, and as time goes on, Dan Hurt may well become a better, more mature driver, but putting on a good performance today, and has already passed Menno Klont for 9th position there. Across the start-finish line they go, and the order is Rowe from Keersmakers, then Van der Neert, Vizil, Jones, De Vries, Vos, Bar, Hut, Klont, Peters, Stefano, Fuller, Stanford, Hut, Ezeroglu, Patterson, Tubin and Onwin. Those are the 19 drivers still remaining in this race. Out of the 20 we started with, so far our only retirement is Rian Hoekstra, who retired earlier on, about 8 laps ago. The gaps at the front of the order are really extending. This here is the closest fight in the top part of the order. Hurt versus Klont still. This is again for 9th position. Behind them, also sort of close, are Ezeroglu and Patterson. Oh, spinner in the background. I've only just seen that, in fact. That would have been Mark Fuller. I only just saw that, actually. I was looking at the YouTube stream, which was delayed. But let's go back and have a look at what happened. Oh, it wasn't Fuller, it was his teammate Kevin Peters. So Peters here has obviously had a spin. He's just lit up the rear tyres on the exit. Getting on the curb slightly won't have helped that. Round he went, and he will have dropped a couple of places in all of that. In fact, Peters is now in 13th position as I accelerate up to real time again. This is, of course, ×2 speed. Right, now we're back to real time. In fact, Patterson is back behind Ezeroglu, so something's happened there. That's for 16th. We saw Patterson getting past Ezeroglu earlier, but he's back behind him now, which is a shame. A shame for Patterson anyway, but Ezeroglu won't mind. Ooh, did I hear a spin? There was definitely Definitely. Oh, I did. Oh, it's Peter Jones. Peter Jones. Niels Voss, not Peter Jones. Niels Voss has been around. Again, it's all on his own there. He's just clipped. Well, I'm not entirely sure if he clipped the curb wrong or anything. It was just, looking at that, it was just that the rear end suddenly got away from him. That's a very frustrating one. And Niels Voss there, who I got confused with Peter Jones, apologies about that, gets going again. And he's now running in 11th position in this race. The car behind him, there's Mark Fuller. The car ahead, Wesley Stefano, a little way ahead actually. We'll see how close they are when he crosses the line. And my live timing screen switches back to a useful graphic. I thought I heard a spin as they went around the Slottsgold, because suddenly I heard someone's engine cut out and a squeal of tyres, and indeed I had heard a spin. It was Niels Voss. Sometimes in a twitchy car like a single seater, it does just snap away from you, and there's not really much you can do about it. Look at that, bit of a slide there from Clont actually, demonstrating how it can be done. These two are actually catching up to Marcel Bauer. In fact, Bauer's really dropping back because look, Dan Hurt just overtook him. So Marcel Bauer, though, they're losing a bit of time and now dropping behind Menno Clont. Dan Hurt and now Menno Clont. In fact, Clont goes up the inside and gets past Marcel Bauer, who runs out and over the curb on the outside. Meanwhile, I believe Craig Patterson dropped behind Roland Hurt and then made his way back past him again. So Patterson's another driver in trouble in this race. In fact, look at this. Bauer really is dropping back through the pack. Does he have damage on that car? I don't see anything, but look at this. He's about to be overtaken. Oh, contact. Contact there with Wesley Stefano. I'm not entirely sure what that was all about. But through goes Stefano. Oh, locks up and goes wide. Bauer's going to get that back temporarily. But Stefano's still challenging. Maybe it's just that his tyres are going off. They've definitely gone off very quickly if that's the case. We are expecting pit stops to occur though. Oh, that was close. In fact, Craig Patterson has made his pit stop, as has Roland Hurt now. We are seeing the first couple of pit stoppers. I expected it to happen before now actually. But only now are we seeing those. Halfway through the race now, it's lap 15 of 30. And the gap for the lead's closing up a bit, it's now just a second. Into the pits comes Menno Clont from 8th. Clont pits. And also in is Peter Jones. So Peter and Menno pitting at the halfway point in the race. And have we lost Craig Patterson? Patterson has been in the pits for a long time. Yes, I'm afraid we've lost Craig Patterson. How did that happen? It looks as if he just went back into the pits. Maybe he got going again and realised that the damage that he had, if he did have damage, hadn't been repaired to the extent he would have liked it to have been, and he ended up retiring from the race. That might well be the case. In as well there is Theodoros Ezeroglu. So we're halfway through the race at this stage. And into the pits now comes Danny van der Neert. So van der Neert comes in from 3rd place. Also in are the 2 leaders. So Roel and Keersmakers. In fact, the top 3 are in. What about 4th place? 4th place Roy Vazil also comes in. So the top 4 pit and only Gerrit de Vries stays out. So de Vries goes through. Will he take the temporary lead of the race? I think he will there. Yeah. Gerrit de Vries takes the temporary lead of the race, gets out just ahead of Stefan Roel. Roel might well be a bit annoyed about that if he gets slightly held up, but de Vries has every right to hold him off. They are on the same lap here. Although I expect Carrot to pit really quite soon in this race. Just realised my cursor's been on the screen for a while, apologies about that. That's the difficulty with trying to commentate. I've invented a new word. No, commentate with only one screen. Also into the pits now, Eric Stanford. Stanford might well drop out of the points-paying positions with this stop. We're on lap 16 of 30, just over halfway gone in this race, and we still have one race after this one. Remember, look at Roll now getting held up behind De Vries, and De Vries isn't pitting on this lap. Roll will not like this. De Vries runs wide on the outside. Roll goes up the inside as they go along the start-finish straight. This is for the lead overall, but not effectively, and De Vries might well hold him off into turn 1 here. He does. He stays around the outside, uses the sausage curve, and keeps the lead of this race for now. Royal now coming at him on the straight. Look at Lauren Keersmakers. He's going to be the big beneficiary in all of this. Royal takes another look, but he doesn't get through. Lauren Keersmakers is right on his back now, right on his tail. Gerrit De Vries really causing a real headache for these leaders, but remember, De Vries is not doing anything illegal. He's driving, he's racing for position. They are on the same lap, although he will have to pit. Through goes Royal, he takes the lead. Gerrit De Vries drops to second, but he might come back at him. Not quite, he's not close enough. What about Lauren Keersmakers? Keersmakers is going through. Tell you what though, Lauren lost a lot more time. Oh no, Royal lost a lot more time than Lauren did there. Let's have a look at all of that again, as Gerrit De Vries here is just going to see Stefan Roll flying through. You saw the understeer on De Vries' car there. And through went Roll, and now watch this as he goes wide again, more understeer, and through goes the much better handling Lauren Keersmakers. Let's have a look at what these two saw of it. So here's Roll leaving his braking later. Actually, didn't brake any later. It was just that he was able to turn in, and De Vries wasn't. Now here's Keersmakers coming at him, using Roll's slipstream as they went down the short straight before Remus. There's the left-hander. He sees that De Vries is going wide. Says thank you very much. Goes up the inside and takes second place. That was all nicely done there. And I'm pretty sure that Gerrit De Vries pitted. He did indeed. I don't think that Kevin Peters has pitted yet. Peters in fourth. I don't think he's pitted yet, as Mark Fuller, his teammate, pitted on this lap. Interestingly, Gerrit De Vries came out in 5th, so De Vries has actually gained a lot of positions and all of that. In fact, someone who's lost a lot of positions is Peter Jones. He's dropped behind Dan Hurt, he's dropped behind Niels Voss. I think both of those guys have pitted. Actually, I'm not sure if they have. Oh, this is... oh, that's not good. That's Van der Neert getting held up by Enno Tubin there. And I believe that was a blue flag infringement from the brief snippet that I saw. In fact, Tubin's coming back at him. Not quite, but, well, it was good of him to back off there. Let's have a look at what Van der Neert saw here. Admittedly, this is a very tough place for anyone to get out of the way of a leader. But watch this. Yeah, Van der Neert's having to really back up there. That's not good. And that's going to cost Van der Neert a lot of time, I'm afraid. Behind Enno Tubin. I'm not quite sure what the gap for the lead is. It's not quite showing me, but all I do know is that Stefan Roll just set the fastest lap of the race there. In fact, yeah, the lead gap's come right out, I'm afraid. 4th place still close though between De Vries and Klont. I actually don't think that Klont and Hurt have pitted, but I'm not entirely sure. This late in the race I'd be surprised, but I've seen weirder things. So through the Through the middle of the course they go. This is for 4th and 5th. Although I'm not entirely sure if it's effectively those positions. And if it is, I don't know where Peter Jones lost all of those places. He was running 5th, he's now in 8th. It might well be that Klont, Hurt and Voss have not pitted yet. I'm going to be a little bit unprofessional and check that quickly actually. Klont, yeah, my thoughts were correct. Indeed, those 3 drivers I read out have not yet pitted. So that's not effective in terms of the actual order. However, they're running to very late in this race on this set of tyres. Surely they're going to be very bad tyres by the end of this. But they seem to be holding up for now. And Dan Hurt still closing in on Menno Klont. So after 20 laps of this race, it's Laurent Keersmakers leading from Danny van der Neer, then Stefan Roll, Kurt de Vries, Menno Klont, Dan Hurt and Niels Voss. I don't believe either of those last 3 names have pitted yet, or any of them rather. Then it's Mark Fuller. Where's Peter Jones gone? He's lost a lot of places. It's Fuller, Stefano, Peters, Vazil, then Jones, then Ezeroglu, Stamford, Hurt, Tubin, and Casper Onwin, I believe, has just retired from this race. I'm going to go and check that quickly. No, Onwin making a pit stop. Now, what happened to Peter Jones? Is that him or is that Niels Voss? Actually, that's not even the right car. That's Peter Jones. Now, where did he drop back? Yeah, he did have an off. So Peter Jones there, who is fighting for the lead of the championship today, had a slight off. Big twitch in the mid part of the circuit, and he's going to have lost a lot of place and all of that, I'm afraid. So 71% of this race completed, as you just saw. And still Dan Hurt on the back of Menno Klont. I don't actually know if either of these guys are going to pit. They really should, because I think you have to. I'm just going to double check that they haven't pitted, in fact, because that'd be a very, very long time. Oh, is that the pit stop there? Lap 11. Let me check Dan Hurt. Yeah, look, they have pitted. Right, so this is effectively their positions. I just thought that I hadn't seen them pit, so apologies about that. But yeah, they both have pitted here. Craig Patterson, I'm afraid, is a bit annoyed in the chat, so it's a shame to see what happened in your race there, Craig, and it's a shame to see you retire so early, but these things happen, I suppose. We saw that you had good pace in this race, and I look forward to seeing you in race 2, and then possibly in the remainder of the championship as well. I suppose better luck next time. Oh, big slide there for Dan Hurt as he puts the power down coming out of Reich. That was very close, but turns it in. Dan Hurt currently running 6th. He's been chasing Menno Klont the entire time and fighting him. Menno Klont, of course, a winner in the Megane series. He might have also won GP series race. I think he has actually in the past. Not this year though. This year we've only, well, this season rather. This season we've only had 2 races. I sort of suspect I've got 2 of the corner names modelled up, so I'm just searching up to see if I have. Oh, indeed, I think I have, because, well, Remus is turn 2, the corner at the top of the hill. Reich is the left-hander parallel to it. Lap 22 out of 30 in this race. We're nearing the end. Not many opportunities left for Dan Hurt to attack Menno Klont here. They're not that far behind Keurig de Vries either, so if de Vries makes a mistake, it could well turn into a three-way fight here. It's already a three-way chain, but I think the only two cars properly close here are Clont and Hurt. And a bit of a slide from Clont. You saw a lot. Oh, and off goes Hurt. Dan Hurt's made a mistake. He's run through the gravel, and that might be his last opportunity of passing Clont in this race. Gone, I'm afraid to say. Let's take another look at how Dan Hurt got that wrong there. Dan Hurt had a bit of a twitch on the exit of the corner, so that was like Kearsmaker's mistake from earlier, but on the exit rather than partway through the corner. Same corner though, that's lost gold. And Dan Hurt has dropped back, I'm afraid. Now, how far has he dropped back as we cross the line this time around to complete lap 22? Or lap 23 rather. It looks to me like he's going to be about a second and a half back there. Although my live timing screen not showing me exactly what I want right at this minute. Yeah, it's 1.8 seconds that's the gap there. Clont, however, is getting closer to the back of de Vries. That gap's no less than a second. So Clont might well be launching a late charge at with the intent of catching and passing Keurig de Vries here. And whether he does it or not depends on his willpower and his concentration. Just a few laps to go in this race. So far in terms of lappery, they've lapped everyone up to Peter Jones. Peter Jones will be the next driver to be lapped in this race. Oh, did I just see a change in the order between Fuller and Peters? Gonna have a look. No, I think I just saw the timing. Oh, I did, right. So it seems like Fuller's and Peters swap places. They are teammates. Oh, in fact, Peters is dropping back a long way here. He's just dropped behind Vasil and behind Jones. So what's happening to Kevin Peters? I'm not entirely sure, but he's dropping back. And he spins. Does he? Yeah, he does. That is Kevin Peters in that cloud. He's made a mistake. Look at this. He's got on the curb on the inside. He's swapped ends. It's a half spin, but that's the worst kind because his tyres are going to be absolutely toasted. And they're going to have flat spots, which will make it like driving on a 50p piece. Oh, I have a 50p piece here, in fact. I wish I could show you that because that's a good demonstration of what I mean. It's very dented. And for a tyre, of course, you want it more rained than that, so that's not exactly a good look for it. Oh, is that Peter Jones? So it's Niels Voss again, same corner. That's the second time he's been off at the Sloss Gold in the 52. Oh, in fact, it was contact with Roy Vasil, Casper Onwin. Casper Onwin there, locked up and slammed into the side. In fact, he's a lap down, so that means Casper Onwin there colliding with a car a lap ahead of him. And that's terrible driving, I'm afraid, from Casper Onwin. Yeah, look at that. Taking off Niels Voss. I'm afraid that's absolutely a terrible bit of driving from Casper Onwin. He lets him through, then locks up the brakes, slides sideways and connects with Niels Voss's car. And I hope that Voss reports him for that, because for a lapped car, that's disgraceful. Just doing ×2 speed again so that we catch up to real time. We've got a couple of laps left in this race now. And has Niels Voss retired from the race? I believe he's in the pits at least. No, he just made a pit stop, so everything's fine. Oh, running very wide there. Who's that? Marcel Barr there, running wide. He's ahead of Eric Stanford, who might get an opportunity soon, but not quite close enough. These two fighting for 13th position. Remember that points go down to 15th here, so this is relevant. Stanford getting a much better exit. He's in the slipstream of Marcel Barr ahead of him. Goes to the inside already as we head up the hill. And does he leave his braking later? Slight brake lock up. And not quite. He tries to get to the inside, but he doesn't quite. Look at Roland Hutt behind them as well. Hutt might get a good opportunity here as we head towards the Slotgold. I'm going to cut away from that briefly because we have a proper full-on battle up the front of the order. What's this? Gerrit de Vries versus Menno Klont versus Dan Hurt. Klont goes wide. Will Dan Hurt get an opportunity as Enno Tubing goes sideways in the background? This is a battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Watch Dan Hurt. He goes for it. Slight lock up. Oh, he goes into him. Goes into the back of Menno Klont just. No damage, no time lost though. Into Ray. That was a close call. We're on lap 27 of 30 now, so just 10% of the race left to go. Less than that now. In fact, we only have a 15th of the race to go at this stage. We're getting very close to the end. And this battle... Oh, Dan Hurt's running very wide in the background. Now, I said earlier that Hurt wasn't going to get another opportunity to attack Menno Klont, but he's caught right back up to him. It's clear that Hurt's the quicker driver of the two. He just hasn't... He's just made a couple of mistakes, which have dropped him off the back of Dan Hurt... of Menno Klont, rather, right when he needs to be on him. At the front of the field, there's Roel, Van der Neert and Keersmaker still running away with it at the front. Interestingly, Roel's registered as being 36 seconds back, but that's a glitch. He's not. He's only about 10 seconds back from Keersmaker's. And I don't think that any of these guys are going to get another opportunity to switch places. They gave it a good shot, but it seems to be slightly too late in this race now. I want to switch up now to our race leader, who is Laurent Keersmaker, because Keersmaker is on the final lap of the race. As he goes around the top end of the course, he's being chased by Van der Neert, but Van der Neert's going to be too far back. The gap as they went onto this lap was 5.916 seconds between the two of them. And behind them it's Roel, followed by de Vries and Klont still. De Vries and Klont separated by less than a second though, and Dan Hurt's only just behind them as well. But look at this, as Laurent Keersmaker exits that... Hold on. I've just had a thought. When did Stefan Roel drop behind Laurent Keersmaker? I actually have no idea. Why didn't I spot that? It just seems so normal for Keersmaker to be leading the race. Whatever the case, somehow Laurent Keersmaker actually still has a lap to go. Never mind. So I'm going to check that quickly. I believe Roel has been behind these two for a long time and I just never noticed it. I feel so silly about that. Because, honestly, he pitted. Is that he must have had a stop go or a drive. It's a drive-through. He went straight through. So that would have been for speeding in the pit lane. He's caught right back up onto the back of Danny Van der Neert. Well, that's put a real twist on this race. I thought that I thought that Keersmaker had led it from the start. To be honest, I feel really silly about that, not spotting that the lead had changed. But whatever the case, Stefan Roel has dropped back to 3rd place in all of this. He's behind Danny Van der Neert here, slipstreaming in towards the Slotgold. This is for 2nd on the final lap. He's trying to salvage anything he can from this race. Van der Neert makes a slight mistake, kicks it sideways. And he might get one last opportunity. I don't want to miss Laurent Keersmaker crossing the line first though. Here is Keersmaker now. He has one more lap of this race to go. One last lap. He's just lapped Niels Vos. Now through the final corner goes Laurent Keersmaker, and Keersmaker wins it somehow. Laurent Keersmaker wins this race due to a mistake from Stefan Roel, who is going to claim 3rd place. Van der Neert 2nd, Roel is 3rd, Now it's going to be Gerrit de Vries who holds on to 4th place out of Klont and Hurt. Let's just watch their battle finish just to be sure. But what drama in the closing stages here, as Roar must have messed up with the pit speed limiter and had to take a drive through, and that means that he's gifted the win to Laurent Keersmakers and the 2nd place to Danny van der Neert. Across the line we go. That's de Vries from Klont from Hurt. They're going to be followed by Wesley Stefano in 7th position rather. Stefano crosses the line 7th and crashes into the wall across the line. He's now going to presumably do a spectacular shunt. Yeah, there we go. Oh, straight into the side of one of the huts. And then Kevin Peters was 8th, followed by Roy Vazil. Peter Jones is going to finish the race backwards. What the heck? I have no idea what that was about. 11th was Mark Fuller. 12th was Nils Voss. Then it was Marcel Barr, Eric Stanford, Roland Hurt, Casper Onwin, Enno Tubin, and then 3 retirements: Theodoros Ezeroglu, Craig Patterson and Rian Coaster. Actually, I believe that Ezeroglu finished the race. Right, what the heck happened to Peter Jones? Let's go back and have a look at that quickly. Now, did he spin coming out of the final corner? Let's have a look. Yes, I believe he must have done. That. Yeah, look, he's chasing Vazil. He spins out to the final corner, and rather than taking the sensible option, spinning it back round and going to the line, which actually would have been quicker, he decides he's going to reverse the entire way back. I tell you what, I mean, it's stylish. I don't think... If I was a steward, I wouldn't be very happy with it, but... Goodness, why the heck has he done that? I tell you what, this is going to be a bit awkward because I live in the same house as Peter, so I'm going to go and quiz him on that now and see what he thinks he's doing. But look at that, just reversing the whole length of the pit straight across the start-finish line. There are cars coming. Look, there are cars coming on that straight. I don't understand that. Whatever, it was thrilling. And that is the end of race 1. Don't go anywhere though, we still have one more race to go. Race 2 is coming up. We have a reverse grid, meaning the top 10 will be reversed. Peter Jones will start on pole, presumably backwards, seeing as that's how he finished. 2nd on the grid is going to be Roy Vazil. They're going to be followed by Kevin Peters, then Wesley Stefano, Dan Hurt, Menno Klont, Gerrit de Vries, Stefan Roll, Danny van der Neert, and Laurent Keersmakers. That was the end of race 1. I hope you enjoyed it, but don't go anywhere because we will be back in a couple of minutes' time for a 2nd race. More of the same, possibly better. See you then. Hello everyone and welcome back for race 2 of the WCS League GP series from the Red Bull Ring. This is round 2 of season 4 and the championship is heating up. I believe I have no idea what the order is in the championship after that first round, seeing as the top 3 championship drivers did not actually turn up, which really confuses things. And I tell you what, I'm not even going to comment on the championship order again, because I simply won't know enough about it until I see the results from after the whole race weekend, or race Wednesday rather, has finished. So anyway, we're just preparing for the start of race 2. The drivers are making their way to the grid, and then we can start this race 2. It's a reverse grid. The top 10 drivers are going to be starting in the opposite order to the order that they finished in race 1. Meaning the driver who finished 10th will start first, and the driver who finished first will start 10th, and everyone in between them fills in the gaps. Now, what has happened here? Everyone's disappeared. Oh, they're back. Right. Okay. Jolly good. So, running through the grid order here, if my stream will update. Running through the grid order, we have Peter Jones on pole, the driver who started or finished the last race backwards, actually reversing across the line. I said that because he finished that way in the last race, he should start that way for this race, start backwards in the grid box, which would give a whole new meaning to reverse grid. But anyway, of course that's not going to happen, and Peter Jones is starting normally from pole position here. Second place is Roy Brazil, who is very close to him in terms of the championship. In fact, might be leading the championship. I say might be because I really don't know. Following him, Kevin Peters, then Wesley Stefano, Dan Hutt, Menno Klont, Gerrit de Vries. Actually, I believe if anyone's leading the championship, it's Menno Klont. I believe he is actually the championship leader after all of that. But again, I can't confirm that. Don't take what I'm saying as official. Following him, Gerrit de Vries, then Danny van den Eert, Lauren Keersmakers, Mark Fuller, Niels Vos, Eric Stanford, Roland Hutt, Casper Oinwin, Theodoros Ezeroglu, Craig Patterson and Rian Hoekstra. I'm afraid we've lost 3 drivers from this order. We have 17 out of the 20 drivers we had at the start of this race weekend. I can't tell you exactly who's missing because I'm not entirely sure. I can see already that one of the drivers missing is Enno Tubin, and that means that we're going to have no CM Tech drivers on the grid, which is a big shame, seeing as CM Tech came into this this race weekend as the constructor or the team's championship leaders. And I'm afraid they're going to have no cars in this race, so that's going to really shuffle up the team's championship. And Sly Fox and Performance Racing are in a good position to challenge for that. In fact, their cars, or some of their cars, are starting 1-2 here. The front row of the grid, Peter Jones and Roy Vazil, as they line up on the grid here for the start of race 2. So Peter Jones, the first of 17 drivers here, will stop in grid box 1. There he goes. And then Rian Hoekstra, the last of the 17 drivers, will start from P17 at the back of the order. Here he goes. He stops in his box as we prepare for the start of the race. Watch the lights. When they go out, we will be underway. Go! The race is off. And it's a good start from Peter Jones. Roy Vazil's having to really defend his third place there. His third place from Kevin Peters. They might go 3 wide into turn 1. They do. And Peter Jones leads them away. Now what can Roy Vazil do on the run up towards Remus? He takes a look to what will be the inside of the run up the hill, but doesn't get close enough yet. He's right on his tail as they go into Remus corner. Peter's going wide. Peter's going very wide. He's off the road and through goes Roy Vazil. Vazil leads the race. Jones comes back on in second place. Away they go down the straight. Look at third. That's Wesley Stefano attempting to come through. He gets the switch back as there's a slight lock-up from Peter Jones. Although the top 3 order stays the same through there. I believe it's been a clean first couple of corners. That's great to see. Look at Menno Klont all over the back of Kevin Peters there. There is our race 1 winner, Lauren Keersmakers. He is currently in 9th position in this race and has a lot of work to do if he's going to replicate a similar result. Seems like Roland Tutt and Craig Patterson have lost a bit of time at the start, along with Eric Stanford, but everyone's still running, which is the most important thing here. Down the start-finish straight, Peter is slipstreaming Vazil. Now going up through turn 1. Vazil clouts the curb and runs wide. He might well lose a bit of time and a bit of momentum from that. The gap as they cross the line was less than 0.4 of a second for the lead between Vazil and Jones. It's very close up front. And absolutely no one had to pit after the first lap. That's one of the first times I've seen this happen in the WCSLeague GP series. Certainly the first time I've seen it happen with a grid this large, and that's great to see. Now look at Gerrit de Vries going to the outside of Dan Hurt. This is for 5th position. And Menno Klont just ahead of them is going to get involved. Wow, I have no idea how none of them hit him there. It looked to me as if they were both going to ram him, but neither of them did, which is great to see. Dan Hurt now trying to get the switch back. Hurt and Menno are going to be bitter rivals after this. They've been fighting for so long. Great to see the respect between the two of them. Over the crest of the hill come the top 3. Look at Wesley Stefano also trying to get involved in this lead battle. Through the dip, out to the final corner, Peter Jones touches the grass. Now look at the slipstream as they weave across the straight. Vazil trying to break the toe. Through turn 1, oh, Peter's made a mistake. Peter has to bail out of the corner to avoid running into the back of Roy Vazil. My goodness, that was close. Let me just sort things out so I can have another look at that. Watch this from onboard Peter Jones. He's in the slipstream. He's going up the hill towards the back of Vazil. This is a replay. He brakes too late, very nearly hits the back of him. Has to go off the road to avoid him. And he loses 2nd place to Wesley Stefano. Here's what Stefano would have seen of that. My goodness, that's a scary situation, and just inexperience from Peter Jones. let's go back and have a look at the start of this race. It was an entertaining one, as Peter made a mistake going through turn 2, and Roy Vazil here was able to claim the lead. Here's how he did it. Took a look to the outside, waited for Peter to brake too late, locked up a tyre himself actually, but went to the inside and got that second place. Peter Jones here was just pressured into this, wasn't he? Yeah, absolutely. Brake too late, went wide and touched the grass as he was rejoining. Now, after that lap, look at Wesley Stefano on the back of Roy Vazil. The gap between the two of them, not much. It's about 7 tenths of a second. Yeah, exactly 7 tenths of a second. In fact, to the 100. That's great. I'm quite pleased with that estimation. Look at Dan Hutt on the back of Menno Klon. Ooh, very racy, but no room. Fantastic to see these guys going at it at the start here. Now, one of the drivers who didn't make it into this race, rather, which I didn't notice, was Stefan Ruhl. So Ruhl, who finished 3rd in the last race, has not made it into this race at all, which is a shame. He had a lot more performance than he was able to show in terms of his finishing position. Look at Kears Makers on the back of De Vries here, on the back of Fuller actually, trying to hold off Fuller rather. That's not an overtake, that's Fuller trying to overtake him. And he manages to hold it off for 8th position there. Looking back up to the lead, it's Vazil followed by Stefano, then Jones, Klont and Hutt in these early stages. Couple of position changes further back I've just seen in the order. Casper Onwin just got past Craig Patterson possibly, and look, we're side by side. That's Roland Hutt and Eric Stanford for 13th. As they head up towards turn 1, that's Stanford on the inside. Hutt goes around the outside, and that's very good driving from Stanford to give that place up, because there was no way he was going to keep that. We've lost a couple of drivers. Let's have a look at how this happened. Kevin Peters is the first of those, and he went out through... Oh, he just gave up. Look, he's just... Yeah, he's just given up. Next up, I believe, was Niels Voss. So let's go up to Niels Voss and have a look at how he retired from this race. It was on the same lap. Oh, right, yeah, he's had an incident. He has run very wide. It started a long way back, ran over the gravel, over the grass. The car was pitched sideways into the gravel again, goes backwards into the barrier, and that is his race done. I'm afraid to say that's an unfortunate incident for Niels Voss. It's an easy mistake to make. I tell you what though, he could have really prevented going into the wall, because he was still on the throttle at that point and he really shouldn't have been. But anyway, Niels Voss out of this race. We now have 15 drivers remaining, and Rian Hoekstra has had a spin. How has that happened? Hoekstra's been a long way round, in fact. Oh, he's just gone round by himself. He's had a twitch mid-corner. He's gone very, very wide over the grass, over the gravel. Spins. Oh, bother. I kind of fast-forwarded that at a bad time. Yeah, spins it round and loops it round backwards before continuing in 15th position. Back to real time, and up the front still we have Vazil leading from... Oh, not Stefano. Peter Jones is back up into second. Peter Jones back up into second. Wesley Stefano now attacking him again. Stefano to the inside. He has a good line for the corner. The slight contact, they touch, but they both get away with it. Now, what can Peter Jones do about Stefano towards Reich here? Not much, I'm afraid to say. Well, for him anyway. Let's go back and have a look at exactly what happened. We missed what happened the first time because we were busy looking at a replay. It was Peter pressuring Stefano, pressuring him into making a mistake, very much like Peter's own mistake on lap 1 of this race. And through he went. So Peter, learning from his rivals, pressuring him into mistakes. Stefano making the error, and second place changing hands. However, that was short-lived, as we're about to see. as Stefano got back down his inside towards turn 3, Slosgold. Through he went. There was slight contact, rear left to front right, but nothing really that Peter could have done about that after that point. And second place changed back again. There we go. Stefano on the inside, slight wheel-to-wheel contact. I was worried initially that it was wing... Oh, slide from Peter Jones. It was wing to wheel, but it wasn't. So they ended up getting away with it. Fourth place is Menno Klont, not too far behind this group actually. Klont might well get involved in this, and behind him is Dan Hurt as well, who's been chasing him all the way through, not just this race, but last race as well. So through the final sector they go. Peter really full commitment through there, as Dan Hurt goes slightly too wide in the background. That's a bit over full commitment. Now look at this, as Hurt is on the back. Oh, Klont's going off actually. Klont had a slight wide moment on the exit of the corner. Now will Hurt be able to have a look at Klont up the hill here? Danny van der Neert's only just behind them as well. Dan Hurt up the inside, leaves his braking far too late. He's going to spin. He goes off and does spin. So Dan Hurt goes around. Looks as if he put the power down too quickly, trying to correct it. And around he went. Now as he gets going again, he finds a clean gap. Oh, and spins again. Doesn't get it going. Hurt in real trouble here. He's dropped a long way down the order. That's a big shame. Let's have a look at exactly how that happened here. He attempted to go down the inside of Menno Klont. Locked up a wheel. He just carried far too much speed in generally. And then as he tried to correct it, he put the power down, and that was a bad time to do so. Had to wait for the whole field to go past. I would have tried a spin turn in the other direction to attempt to get away from the road, but returns to the road, and he's now in 12th position, I'm afraid to say. Oh, now what's happened to Eric Stanford, who has lost his front wing? Stanford has had an incident, and that happened at the worst place on the track. That happened at turn 1, and I say that's the worst place because that means he has to go back around the whole track again to get that repaired. He's clipped the curb, he's gone wide over the sausage curb on the outside and into the barrier. That's a hard hit, and I'd be surprised if there isn't suspension damage on that car as well. In reality, that would have ripped a whole front suspension off the vehicle, but he's got away with it surprisingly lightly for that, as side-by-side slight contact. That's Ezeroglu and Mark Fuller. Ezeroglu and Fuller making slight contact while fighting over 8th position. Down the straight they go into the Slosgold. Oh, lock up from Ezeroglu. He goes slightly wide. Can Fuller get back at him on the exit? They're going side-by-side towards Ray. Although that's not a corner you tend to go side-by-side through. What about the exit? Ezeroglu gets a good enough exit to hold him off. There we go. Now the lead's getting rather close. Oh, that's Klont having to hold off van der Neert there for 4th place. But the lead's getting rather close here. Vizil and Stanford. Stanford was less than a second behind Vizil last time I looked. The gap is definitely coming down at the front. In fact, on that last lap there, well, the gap came out again by about 1/10 of a second, but on the lap before that, the gap came down by 0.6 of a second. Maybe there was a slight mistake from Brazil. Let's have a look at Ezeroglu versus Fuller. Fuller attacking as we go up towards Remus. Now, can he get the braking right? It tends to be that the person on the inside gets the braking wrong, but Fuller makes it stick. Fuller makes it stick and goes through into 8th place. Look behind them as well. Craig Patterson attacking. Patterson from 10th is getting involved in this as well. It's a three-way fight going towards Slosgold. And Fuller makes a mistake. Ezeroglu gets back at him using the switchback. Good move from Ezeroglu. Ezeroglu's a driver who's really had a turn of pace in the last couple of rounds. I noticed that in the academy race just yesterday. I have memories of a couple of nasty incidents that Ezeroglu's caused in the past involving me, but to be honest, his racing today, in all fairness, has been surprisingly clean. Even in stressful circumstances, he's been surrounded by other drivers and hasn't let them down. Oh, it's the lead gap, incidentally, gone down to 0.6 of a second. Well, there's Clont versus Keersmakers, but here are the leaders. They're approaching traffic, in fact, so this might come into play as Eric Stanford runs wide and over the grass in avoidance towards the Slosgold. And it's still Vizil from Stefano. Stefano getting very close to Vizil, though. Maybe showing him just what he can do on the brakes through there. And after 10 laps of racing, it's Vizil from Stefano, then Jones, Van der Neer, Clont, Keersmakers, De Vries, Ezeroglu, Fuller, Patterson, Onwin, then it's Roland Hurt, then Dan Hurt, Rienk Hoekstra and Eric Stanford. And then out of the race are Niels Vos and Kevin Peters. So 15 drivers remaining of the 17 we started with. And it's still a battle for the lead, but very wide goes Wesley Stefano. He'll have lost a bit of time through that, and Vizil moves over to cut the slipstream. Or break the toe, but that sounds a bit more violent. And still the gap is 0.6 of a second as we go up towards Remus. There we go through the right-hander at the top of the hill, and now down the second longest straight on the track. You don't really have many long straights on this track because it's a short track in general, probably the shortest we have on the calendar this year. The only track shorter than it on the F1 calendar is Monaco. So into the final sector they go towards the slipstreaming straight. If Stefano can keep with Roy Vizil through these corners, which is looking likely seeing as Vizil's just made a mistake, then Stefano might well get an opportunity here to attack. As we head down the main straight, he's going to be a lot closer than he was last time. Let's have a look at what the gap is when my live timing updates. They're just exiting turn 1 now. They both go off. Both run wide anyway. The gap is just 0.3 of a second. Closer to 0.4, but still very, very close. We have a real battle for the lead here on lap 13 and 15. Now slipstreaming towards Slosgold. Can he have a look here? He goes to the outside. Vizil defends. Vizil defends well. What about the switchback from Wesley Stefano? It's not available. And he's not able to go for a move. He still has 3 more laps to do it though, although that looks slightly wide there. In fact, he's lost quite a bit of time there through Raig. That was quite wide. So over the crest of the hill, he has 2 laps to do it after this. 2 laps. Remember that if these two come to blows, and I hope for their sake that they don't, but if these two come to blows, then Peter Jones in 3rd place is the driver who'd benefit from it. Kevin Peters, I'm afraid, retired from this race early on. He says, race over after turn 1, nice. Rear damage from any of the guys behind me, 4th or 5th guy. Only sliding every corner 2 seconds off pace. So yeah, it seems he got damaged at turn 1 and ended up with a very poorly handling car. Now let's watch the leaders again. Stefano versus Vizil. Stefano going to the outside towards the Slosgold. He tried this last lap but wasn't quite as close. Vizil locks up the tyres. Can Stefano get a switchback? No, and that means he's going to only have one more lap to do it. And look, Peter Jones. No, that was Stanford. Ignore me. Eric Stanford there, who was a lap down, made a mistake, and that's well, he has a very similarly liveried car to Peter Jones. So I thought we'd just lost one of our podium runners, but no, it was Stanford just overcooking it and spinning into the gravel trap there. He's rejoined and gets on his way. We're about to go on to the final lap of the race meanwhile, and these are the leaders. What's the gap as we go, as we begin the last tour? It's close, but it's not as close as it was. I fear that unless Vasil makes a mistake, Stefano's chance is over. Incidentally, fastest lap of the race so far is set by Danny van der Neert. So van der Neert is set to claim that 1 point for the fastest lap of this race if it stays the same, and I expect it will. You don't tend to see fastest lap set this late in the race due to the degrading tyres. Oh, and he does go for it. He takes a slight look, tries to force Vasil into a mistake. Stefano did take a look for the lead there, but it wasn't close enough. Now, he doesn't have any more usual overtaking opportunities. Can he get creative? He hassles Vasil into Rauch. Vasil goes over the inside curb in an attempt to hold him off, and he manages it for now. Through the final couple of corners we go. And if Roy Vasil can just keep it on the road, keep it pointing in the right direction, he will win this race. Here he goes. In fact, off the road goes Wesley Stefano slightly. Final corner, and over the grass goes Stefano as Roy Vasil wins it. Vasil wins, followed by Wesley Stefano, who finishes second. Third place is going to be Peter Jones. That was such a close finish at the end there. A close final lap. The winning margin in the end was just 0.301 of a second. Fourth was Laurent Keersmakers. He did get past Menno Klont in the end. Klont was fifth. Then it was Gerrit de Vries, Danny van der Neert, Theodoros Ezeroglu, Craig Patterson, and then Casper Onwin, Roland Hutt, Dan Hutt, and then Mark Fuller. And Rian Hoekstra is going to claim 14th position as Eric Stanford retired towards the end of this race. I wonder whether he had another incident or whether he just gave up after his previous one. He shouldn't have given up though, because if he'd finished he would have scored a point. In fact, he may well still have scored a point. I don't know how the rules work with retirements like that. Oh, as Hoekstra damages his car after the finish, that doesn't really matter. That would have been very deliberate. It seems to me that, yeah, Stanford just gave up there. So that means that after that, the order was Vasil, Stefano, Jones, Keersmakers, Klont, de Vries, van der Neer, Ezeroglu, Patterson, Onwin, Dan Hutt, Roland Hutt, then Fuller, Hoekstra, Stanford, Voss and Peters. Now, I don't know for certain who's leading this championship, but I think it's between Vasil and Klont. I'm not entirely sure, don't take my word for it. It might well be Laurent Keersmakers, but I don't think it is. So I think it's between Vasil and Klont, probably Vasil. I'm not going to work it out now, I simply don't have time, but don't go anywhere because we're about to start some interviews with the drivers and hear how it was from a driving point of view. Just getting that set up briefly, but we will be ready very shortly with some interviews. I want to get the top guys in because especially from that last race, because that was a very exciting race and must have taken a lot of work and a lot of concentration from both Vasil and Stefano at the end there. Let's just go to the
channel switched.
The broadcast channel.
User
right, the first driver I'm going to bring in after that race was our race 2 winner, who had to really fight for it at the end there, Roy Vasil. Hello, Roy.
Yay!
Yay, indeed.
Finally,
yes. Have you won a race before, Roy?
In the GP series not, but obviously in the Megane series I got a few wins. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, well done for that. So, talk us through that fight with Stefano. I tell you what, you really had to hold him off at the end there. Did you think he was going to get you?
Well, yeah, I was pretty scared. So I was driving quite defensive. In the beginning of the race, I managed to save the tires a little. So that might give me a little advantage at the end of the race. For the rest, I was pretty consistent during the race, so that was the positive side of the. But Stefano got a really quick pace, and yeah, I'm really lucky that he didn't catch me because he was really quick, and sometimes we were beside each other, so it was really close and a nice battle.
Fantastic. Race 1 didn't go quite as well for you though. You ended up in 9th position after that. What entirely happened? Because you were running a lot higher than that and then suddenly you dropped.
Yeah, exactly. I managed to switch off the message center below in the left corner of the screen. So normally when you enter the pit lane it says pit limiter on, but when the chat fence was off you don't see it. So I switched the pit limiter on. I didn't see anything in the left corner. So I switched it off again to trying to switch it on, but I didn't see anything. So I pressed the throttle and then it was off. So I got a stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Unfortunate, but yeah, sometimes these things happens.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate, and I've had that before in the past. I know how frustrating that was. It did put you in a good position at the start of race 2, though. Talk us through the start. You were forced to snatch the win yourself, or the lead yourself rather, off Peter. You just sort of pressed him into a mistake there, didn't you?
I pressed. Yeah, maybe. I was weaving a little bit to make him a little nervous, but I think he was more looking in his mirrors to look where I am, and he outbraked himself a little bit, and that was just enough for me to pick up P1. But Peter got a great pace as well. He managed to get close all the time, so he was a good third. And I mean, if Wesley and me crashed or something, then he would definitely have won it. So
yeah.
He did an amazing job. Even in race 1 he got a great pace as well. I was 4th, he was 5th, and he was all the time just in my back.
Now,
so, yeah.
I believe after that, now I don't take my word for it, I haven't exactly done the calculations, there's a high chance that you're leading the championship now. But
really?
Yes, the top 3 drivers in the championship before this round didn't turn up, so it was mainly between you, Peter, and Menno. I think you're leading the championship unless Keersmaker scored enough points. Basically,
yeah,
I'm not entirely sure, but you're up there. So, what do you see in terms of this championship? Where do you see yourself at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think 5th. I got 3 trophies from WCS Racing with 5th place. So,
Mr. 5th place, I see.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I will be 5th.
Fantastic. That just seems to be your place. Well, let's see if you can go one better. So yeah, see you next time, I suppose.
Yeah, see you at the Megane. Thank you very much for the broadcast.
No, that's fine. I very much enjoy this. Okay, so that was Roy Vizil. Let's move on now to a driver who had a slightly less fortunate race, I'm afraid to say, and that is the second, or one of the Slightfox drivers, who was Niels Vos. Hello, Niels.
Hello.
So, Niels, not exactly the race weekend that you would have been hoping for, I'm sure. Talk us through the various incidents that took place.
Well, yeah. First race I was okay. I had pace, and yeah, eventually I got 7th place, and I don't know why, but in 3rd corner, I incidentally pushed my brake while I was turning into the corner.
Ah.
So my back just went its own way, and so I spun. So that's why I lost some places. But yeah, directly go to the pits. Had some fresh tires, and I had the pace again. Got back my place, so that was okay. And then I met a back marker. We got a blue flag, also in turn 3, and he spun just into my inside, so my car was wrecked and had to go to the pit again. So it's unfortunately, you can say it's a bad race on a bad weekend for me. But I want to say something about my teammate Peter Jones. He is unbelievably doing a great job for Sly Fox Racing. He already has 2 podium places. He's doing everything what he can, and I don't know how many times I have to thank him for that. Just the calmness of him, just everything is good, and I want to thank him for the opportunity to drive for my team, and I hope my luck will come again and also fight within the top 10.
Fantastic. It seems to be everyone praise Peter Day, but it seems that he had a very good day in that Sly Fox car. Okay. Well, thanks for speaking to us there, Niels, and we'll see you next time out at Indianapolis. Actually, talking of Indianapolis, it's an unusual track for this calendar, but the Indy Lights cars, of course, race here on the full oval as well as the GP course. Do you think have you driven it before? Is it a track that you go well at?
Well, yes, I think it's this car. It has a lot of grip. It really has. It's fast and it has a lot of grip. So I think every track is nice to drive on. But for me, the tricky thing is, although I'm Dutch, I really do suck at rainy days. So I hope it will be dry, and let's say I will go for top 10 in Indianapolis.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you then, I suppose.
I think so. Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. See you then.
User was moved to your channel.
Okay, so that was Niels Vos, the Sly Fox driver. Let's move on now to one of the Racing Team Schroten drivers. This will be Menno Klont. Hello, Menno.
Hey, hello, Joshua.
Hello. So, Menno, you had a bit of an up and down weekend. Although I tell you what, there was one driver who you couldn't seem to get off your tail for either of the races. I take it you know who I'm talking about.
I think Dan Hutt, yeah.
Yeah. You're battling with Dan Hutt just seemed to provide about 80% of the excitement we had in those races. Talk us through that one big battle of 2 races.
Well, actually, I'm not that happy. Okay, 2 times P5, that's still okay in good points, but overall the car was pretty poor on braking. It was really sliding, and I think we didn't have the right setup to battle with the good, really good guys and really high finishes in both races. Race 1 was pretty okay. I believe I had a hit, or I caused a hit in turn 2 of race 1. I'm not sure, I didn't see the replay. There were some spinners behind me. For the rest, I had quite a good start, but a lot of problems under braking, especially into the mid sectors, like after turn 3. The trouble began, and it was pretty poor out of some corners at times, but still good battles. I had Dan for a long time on my tail, and I believe he actually was in front of me, but I jumped him after the pit stop, so I was quite happy with that. Then I was catching Gerrit de Vries, and actually I think I was a bit faster, but yeah, tires were worn, had those problems in sector 3, and I couldn't pass him in the end, which was a shame, because I think it would have been possible, but yeah, that's racing. Then to race 2 I changed some settings, so it was a bit better in race 2, so I fought for what I was worth, and actually was aiming for a 4th position, but then he slipped by. I had a great battle with him, and actually he made an error because I tried to get him in the inside, and he went a bit wide of the grippy line, and he spun off. And yeah, in the end, with 2 laps to go, I had Laurent passing me, which was a shame. But yeah, he's very good, so that's another shame. But actually, I think I could have counted him after or for the last lap. I had a very good exit out of one corner, but I just lost it under acceleration. I think if I had that perfect, I think I would have had maybe a dive into the 3rd corner in the last lap. But yeah, in the end, well,
User
not
left your channel.
too happy with P5 and P5 because I want to dream big, but overall good points. It's a bit a shame that the rivals for me now in the championship, which are Roy Verzal and Peter Jones, they finished one time behind me, but the other time they finished in front of me and on the podium. So yeah, that was more or less it, and I hope I can improve next time.
Yeah, certainly. It's Indianapolis next time 8, and that's a very well. That's definitely one that that I've been looking for from a spectating point. Again, I asked this to Niels. What do you think of the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit?
I think he's gone. I think he already moved out.
Yes, no, I meant I'd already asked that to Niels. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, if you want to know what I'm thinking of the Indianapolis circuit, well, it's a nice circuit, and I think it might be even better for those cars than the Red Bull Ring. They actually are racing there in real life, so that's actually pretty damn good. Sorry for my language. For the rest, I think the old circuit, which we had 15 years ago, that old layout is a bit better than the slightly modified one, which that one we're going to drive. But overall, I think it will be a very good circuit for a lot of overtaking, and I think good results are possible there for me.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you there, I suppose. So yeah, see you later. So that was Menno Klont there from Racing Team Schroten. The other Racing Team Schroten driver actually didn't turn up. Actually, Menno, before you go, yeah, why do you think so many big guys didn't turn up today? Especially, you must know about your teammate Roy Schroten.
Yeah. Roy Schroten had a private matter, and he couldn't race, and that was a shame. And from Wopke, I believe he had something else to do as well, which is of course a shame. But on the other hand, your worst 2 results will get skipped, so they actually have no problem now. But
that's a good point.
They cannot afford to get more bad results. So yeah.
Yeah, that does put a bit of extra pressure on them there. But yeah, all right. Well, as I said, we will see you all in 2 weeks at the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit. It will start at the same time as always at about 7:30 British time. So yeah, we'll see you then. And thanks for joining us today. Good night.